across the board in all demographics now. So cocaine is starting to make a comeback as well, and a lot of in the prescription opiates that we're seeing, there's still a big problem with benzodiazepines, specifically Xanax, and so pay attention to your 17-year-olds, because that's primarily when they're using it. Before they're really getting into heroin, they're starting to use other prescription medication, and a lot of Xanax use and a lot of benzodiazepine use. The reason that I talk about those current trends is because there are certain attitudes that we take in the so-called harder drugs versus the less harmful drugs. And I kind of want to spend a minute and debunk those myths. There are...
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, Bob. We have some seats back here also, if anyone's standing up, seats back here as well.
Yeah, please feel free to grab seats back here. Sit wherever you need to sit. I love that we have such a big crowd here. Make yourselves comfortable, Boys, if you want to sit on the floor back there, by all means, have a seat, relax. Or come up front, whatever you want to do. I'm talking to my kids. Right. So, it's important for us to talk about current trends and the so-called more dangerous drugs. But I want to sort of debunk this myth, because here's what we do, is we take an attitude overall on things like marijuana, alcohol, and nicotine. And we think, and we like to say, a lot of those are socially acceptable, and they are less harmful, and they're not, the heavy drugs, right? But I want you to pay attention to the numbers. I want you to pay attention to the numbers. Oh wait, how am I getting this? Oh, there it is. Okay. So first I want to point out 3 specific drugs that we, overall, because they're socially acceptable on some level, that we think that they're less harmful. But I want to point these out because these drugs right here are the setup to addiction. They are the setup to doing the so-called more harmful drugs. Toxicity-wise, no doubt about it, opiates and heroin are absolutely toxicity-wise the most dangerous. But by number, they are not. Alcohol is an interesting drug. It almost is a rite of passage that we give our kids. And a lot of the teenagers that I work with, they started by drinking alcohol. And guess where they start? Anybody? In their own home, right? Because I would rather them drink at home than go out there and get in trouble. And a lot of parents take that attitude, right? And when you do that, you are saying it is okay to consume this drug as long as you do it here. And you're setting them up to think that it's okay to just have a free-for-all with that, right? And so I want you to pay attention. Other than nicotine, so nicotine is absolutely, by the number, the most toxic and dangerous drug that there is worldwide. It kills more people than all the other drugs combined. That's nicotine, right? Alcohol is second to that. There are more problems caused and more deaths caused by the drug alcohol than there are by any other drug except nicotine. And yet we take an attitude that it's the lesser drug. If we allow our kids to do this at an early age. Now I'm not, I never take a stance as I'm not a prohibitionist, right? I'm not gonna go out there in a soapbox and say, get rid of all drugs. If you wanna do that, cool, that's your choice. What I believe is that we properly educate our kids, and that there are certain laws out there that say there's a reason you can't drink till you're 21. There's a reason for that. And if we're allowing our teenagers, because I did it when I was a kid, or something like that, to do that, we are setting them up for failure. Because alcohol, other than nicotine, is by far the most dangerous drug. A little side note and education on alcohol, right? There is no difference between those things. I have listed up here beer, wine, and hard liquor. No difference. The only difference is that the amount of alcohol is in lesser volume in beer versus wine versus hard alcohol. But if anybody, I only drink beer or I just have wine, I'm not touching the hard stuff. It is all the same. And make no mistake about that. I've had many, many alcoholics who have lost all and cannot stop, come through treatment programs that I've worked at that say I just drink beer or I just drink wine, right? You can get just as messed up on that. And so pay attention to that. Marijuana, right? It was, you know, our vaping is our hot topic right now. It's all over the news. But, and marijuana is no different than that. But if we go back a couple of years, that's the hot topic, right? We are in the middle of a marijuana revolution right now. For some reason, when we make something legal, all of a sudden people think it's not harmful. So the message that I want to give about legal drugs like cannabis or alcohol or prescription medications or nicotine is that legal does not mean safe. Legal does not mean safe. If you have a teenager and they are pushing back on marijuana and telling you it is legal, it is medicine, it's not a big deal anymore, as a parent, push back the other way. Because even, so you can research marijuana use, right? And you can get all kinds of pro-marijuana websites. People will tell you all kinds of stuff about it. There are some medical benefits. I would be completely ridiculous to come up here and say there's no medical benefit to certain cannabinoids and CBD oils and different extracts. There's absolutely medicinal purposes for it. But no marijuana or cannabis advocate anywhere in the world will tell you that it's okay for teens to do it. Even the ones that are pro-marijuana are not going to tell you it's okay for teens to do it. There's a reason that we have the laws that state you have to be a certain age. And I will get into brain development in a minute, which is why we need to keep our kids from doing this more than anything, is that their little brains are extremely susceptible to damage from these drugs before full development. They are roughly fully developed around, coincidentally, the age of 21, right? I got news for you guys, and if the guys get mad at me for saying this, it's the truth. Women are smarter. It is absolutely the truth. Women's brains develop sooner than men's brains develop. Women's brains develop in the part of the brain that is responsible for making good decisions. Up here, it's called the prefrontal cortex, around the age of 22, 23. Men, around the age of 24, 25, or maybe in my case, 51. But brain development is one of the things that we are stunting with marijuana use. And if we're saying it's okay for our kids to smoke pot, what we are doing is saying it's okay for them to damage their little brains before they are developed. And using marijuana is one of the first setup behaviors that anybody, so it would be ridiculous for me to say that everybody that smokes pot is going to end up being a heroin addict. But I have never in my life met a heroin addict who didn't start with marijuana first. Never. Right? Occasionally you will get the person that we call an accidental addict, right? The guy who, the man or woman who has legitimate pain issues. Maybe they got in a wreck or something. And we're getting a hold on this as far as the medical community is going now. But 5 years ago or so, when doctors and prescriptions were just readily available to anybody with very little regulation, you could have a toothache and your dentist inadvertently give you a prescription of Vicodin at a moment in your life when you're extremely stressed, and next thing you know, you're addicted to opiates. We do have those cases. But primarily those who are addicted to more dangerous, toxic substances, such as heroin or methamphetamine, almost always start with the so-called lesser drugs, like marijuana, like other forms of cannabis. Nicotine is, it comes in many forms. One of the things, so I'm going to lead into vaping with nicotine. And I want to tell you why we're in the pickle, a lot of why we're in this position or this crisis that we're in now, and seeing all the severe dangers that are now coming out of the news, is because nicotine has always been a problem. We all know about that. We've gone from the time, when I was a kid, you could smoke in a hospital room. You could walk around with it and nobody was saying anything about it. We know the truth about nicotine and about smoking, and everyone has the message. Over a 10-year period, when we really started getting the message and not allowing ads to be put in certain magazines or to be on TV or to target kids with the little cartoon camels and things like that, when we started putting our foot down and a lot of the big tobacco started getting sued and all that stuff, California population of smokers dropped in half within within a 10-year period. And it went from almost 25% of the state of California adults used some sort of nicotine product, primarily smoking, went down to less than 12% in a 10-year period. And so our anti-smoking talks and the truth about nicotine in general and smoking, we got the message. That's what we need to start doing about vaping, because we need to cut this epidemic in half. And so when people know that smoking is dangerous for you, and it would be ridiculous for me to sit up here and to say that vaping isn't less harmful than smoking. Smoking anything will kill you. I don't care what it is. If you are inhaling smoke on a regular basis, you're going to get cancers, lung diseases, emphysema, heart problems, chronic bronchitis, all kinds of stuff associated with smoking itself. There are a lot of studies now coming out exclusively about cancers and emphysemas and lung diseases associated with marijuana use as well. But it's hard to get those numbers because most people that use marijuana also use cigarettes and vice versa. And so it's hard to differentiate the two from each other and get accurate studies. But I will tell you this, that if you smoke anything, it's eventually going to kill you. You know, if you smoke cigarettes today, do yourself a favor, do everything you can to stop. We're in such a time now that people have gotten a message about smoking that I don't know about you guys, but when I'm walking down the street and I see someone smoking a cigarette, I'm almost like shocked by it now, because not that many people smoke anymore. Tons of people vape. Everybody's vaping, right? Because we were sold this thing that said that vaping is the alternative that's not dangerous for you. And there are studies that for the adult populations that used it for harm reduction, right? Smoking cessation is what vaping manufacturers put it out there. This is going to help you get off of smoking cigarettes. It has worked for the adult population that was already addicted to cigarettes, that wanted to get off those cigarettes and get on to something that's less harmful for you. It has worked. But the problem with it is in the marketing and in the delivery and in the fruity flavors and in the way that we've been sold it, it has been sold to our teen population as a non-harmful, cool thing to do. And what's happened is we have watched over the last 5 years or so the teenage population in vaping just exponentially grow. Everybody is doing it nowadays. The numbers are astounding. The numbers are astounding. I have the numbers up here, but if I remember correctly, 12th graders that were surveyed, something like 37% of 12th graders are using vape products, right? That's a lot. That is a lot. And the reason for that is because we've been sold this lie. We've been sold this lie. Now, I'll tell you about the other end of it, right, is that I have a friend, Gary, who's had several heart attacks. He was a drug counselor under me in a treatment center that I worked, and he's a wonderful guy. And he had 3 heart attacks, and his family called me, and they said he's in Henry Mayo Hospital. And I swear to God, I showed up, and he's outside in his little gown with his little thing hooked to him, and he was smoking a cigarette, right? God bless Henry Mayo, they're a non-smoking campus now. I'm so glad that they did that, but this was back before. And so 3rd heart attack, and my friend Gary's sitting out in front, and he's smoking a cigarette after just having a heart attack from smoking cigarettes, right? That's how strong nicotine is as far as an addictive substance. Gary switched over to vaping products and continues to vape today, and his health has dramatically improved. For that population right there, they're not sold a lie. The problem is that everybody is believing now that it's non-harmful. And so our teenagers are grabbing a hold of it. So let's specifically